Welcome, Dr. John. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges we face as foster, adopted, and kinship parents?
We're at a time right now, we're at a really, really critical time right now where we're in need of more people to care for children in crisis, whether it is adoptive parents, whether it is kinship parents, whether it is foster parents. We continue to see a number of things: a shortage of foster parents. We're continuing to see a number of children coming into a system that can't handle it because there's not enough people. We're continuing to see the rise of teenage depression, teenage suicide, much of that due to COVID. We're seeing a rise of children in crisis in regards to child abuse and human trafficking. And there are not enough people to care for these children. So if foster, adoptive, kinship parents can care for these children, the need is so strong. And at the same time, they're all fulfilling a need that is so important in a very, very valuable way. So it's a time for us to bring these three groups, these three categories together, if you will, because their main goal is the same, and that is to care for children in crisis, whether it is a biological child through kinship, whether it is one placed into the foster care system, whether it is one like myself who's adopted 3 children. We all have the same end goal, and that is caring for children in crisis in our community, in our neighborhood, in our towns, in our states, across the nation. And because there is that same end goal, that partnership, if you will, is vital, and we need to make sure that each of those gets the same sort of resources and support services. I hear at the Foster Care Institute so many times that, Dr. John, I'm a kinship parent, but I'm not getting the support services I feel I need. Or Dr. John, I've adopted my child. I'm no longer a foster parent licensed. I'm no longer getting support services that I need. And that is a detriment to those adoptive and to those kinship parents. In fact, it's a detriment to the children's society as a whole. As a licensed foster parent, we are able to get a number of resources, training, support services that perhaps in some states, kinship parents might not get. And perhaps in some states, adoptive parents might not get. So we need to, and we see the growth of kinship. There's a lot of focus put upon that. But we need to make sure our kinship parents are getting the same sort of support and resources and training that our foster parents are getting. Because these kinship parents, if they're not getting the support services they need, then they can quickly be overwhelmed in their own life.
What are some specific considerations for kinship parents in particular?
Many kinship parents, whether it's aunts or uncles or grandparents, and they may be suffering from their own pain, their own trauma, their own anxiety that they may have experienced when they were a child. For example, 2 of the 3 I've adopted are 3rd generation foster care, which means their parents and their grandparents were also in the foster care system, a system that failed them in some way, and they never were able to get the professional therapy, the professional counseling services that they needed in order to not only care for their children, but care for themselves, to heal themselves. So they were suffering from their own pain, their own anxiety while trying to raise children. And it became generational. And that's what happens to so many of these children. So we need to make sure that our kinship parents are getting those type of services and resources while they're caring for children related to them at home. But let's look at the grandparents. Let's look at those grandparents. And God bless those grandparents for raising their own children. Now they're raising a 2nd generation. Many of today's grandparents simply do not understand the new challenges or the new ways of learning, if you will, in schools. When the grandparents went to schools a while back, school is a very, very different world today in 2022 than it was when they were in school, or 2019, if you will. Many kids today are learning online, and those grandparents who are caring for their grandchildren in a kinship care fashion, they may not understand how school works today. They also may not appreciate the many, many dangers that children, their grandchildren, face on a daily basis or an hourly basis, if you will, through social media and online technology. So we need to make sure that all of our kinship parents get those resources and support services that they need while they're caring for their biological children, their biological children in a kinship fashion. So all these resources, these resource families, whether it is a foster parent, whether it is an adoptive parent, whether it is a kinship parent, they all have to come together in this partnership to care for these children in their community, whether it is through a kinship fashion, a child related to them some way, whether it is a child placed into the foster care system, whether it is through the adoption, like myself, adopted 3 children. We need to come together in a partnership, if you will, to make sure that we all are together in this one goal of caring for children in crisis. At the same time, making sure that we all are able to share those support services and share those resources and share those training opportunities, because it's a very challenging, difficult time, to be sure.
The good word there, Dr. John, is the fact sharing. We grow, we learn, and we are stronger when we share. We share our resources, we share our experiences, but most of all, when we share our support. Our strength comes through sharing, and our sharing our opportunities and our experiences, and that's where we grow and become stronger. So, and finally, let's give you the last word as we prepare to open our conference. What last words of wisdom would you give to parents attending our conference sessions?
It's a critical time right now. As I mentioned earlier, there are 5 million children who are experiencing domestic violence in their homes. We're seeing a rise of child abuse, of teenage suicide attempts, of child depression, of child abuse. And there's not enough people out there willing to help. When we come together in a partnership with Kinship, with adoptive, with foster parent, as resource families, as resource parents, when we share that load together, then it makes it easier for us to care for these children in crisis. No one understands this type of parenting unless it's someone who's actually walked that walk. So when we come together and we're able to hold hands as we care for these children in crisis, we're going to be able to change the lives of these children.
Thank you very much for those great words. Together, we will share, together we will care, and we will find strength through those unique opportunities, strength through each other. So thanks a lot. And I hope each person who views this conversation, who views our conference, finds strength by connecting.